Students, in Lesson 1.9 Problem Solving, we are going to be working on multiplication and division. Our essential question for this lesson is, how can you use the strategy, solve a simpler problem to help you solve a division problem? So we're going to start with the unlock the real world. There's a lot of information in this story problem, so you're going to notice that I'm going to circle and highlight and write some abbreviations. It's really important, boys and girls, when you're taking notes, that you're pulling out the same information that I am, because it's going to make it a lot easier for you to complete this problem. So let's get going. Mark works in an animal shelter to feed 9 dogs. Mark empties 18-ounce cans of dog food into a large bowl. If he divides the food equally among the dogs, how many ounces of food will each dog get? So when I hear the word equally, I know that this is going to be a division problem. So it's also going to be important that we note that. Also, if we're dividing it among 9 dogs, we know that that's going to be our divisor, what we're dividing it up amongst. And what we need to find out, which we don't know yet, is how many ounces we have. Currently, we know that we have 8 cans. And we know that in each can, there's 18 ounces of food. So students, as you can see, it's really important that you are taking notes with me. Right now, what we're going to do is we're going to think about this. Mark's going to combine these into one larger bowl. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to do a smaller problem before we jump into our actual division problem. So the difference between this lesson and the previous lesson is, to solve a division problem in the previous lesson, we use distributive property. In this problem, we're actually going to just use division. Also, it's really important, though, that you have your multiplication charts with you as you go along these steps. So it says, read the problem. What do I need to find? I need to find the number of ounces of dog food each dog gets. Next, what information do I need to use? I need to use the number of cans of food, the number of ounces in each can, and the number of dogs that need to be fed. Next, how will I use the information? I can multiply to find the total number of ounces, and then I can solve a simpler problem to divide that total by 9. So first, we're going to solve the problem. First, multiply to find the total number of ounces of dog food. If we go back to our previous page, we know that there's 8 cans, and we know that each can has 18 ounces, but we need to know how many total ounces are there. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply out 18 times 8. So 8 times 8 is 64. We're going to regroup the 6. 8 times 1 is 8, plus the regroup 6 is 14. So that means that there is 144 ounces of food to share among the dogs. Next, to find the number of ounces each dog gets, I'll need to divide. So because we hear the word each dog, and we know that there's 9 dogs, we know that 9 is our divisor. So we're going to divide by 9. Now, to find the quotient, I'm going to break 144 into smaller, simpler numbers that are easier to divide. So when we think about the strategy, make a simpler problem, what we're doing is we're basically going to do 2 smaller division problems, and at the end we're going to add up our smaller quotients to get our larger quotient. So what we're going to do is we're going to look down our multiples of 9. So I'm going to make a little list here for us of our multiples of 9. So if you look here, boys and girls, these are my multiples of 9. We are going to break this large number 144 into two smaller numbers. So you're not going to use long division to solve these problems, but if you break up 144 into two of these numbers that are multiples of 9, we know that we can get two smaller quotients and add them back up together to get the larger quotient. So we see that 9 is on our multiples of 9 chart, so we know that we can do 90 is on our multiples of 9 chart, so that we know that we can do 90 divided by 9. We know that if we want to get back to 144, 90 plus 54 would give us 144. And because, again, 54 is on our multiples of 9 chart, we know that it's divisible by 9. So we have 54 divided by 9, and we get 6. So 90 divided by 9, we can get 10. And you can always use your inverse operations to help you. So if it was hard to think about the division fact, you could say what number times 9 equals 90, and we know that's 10. And you could say 9 times what number gives me 54, and we know that's 6. So now last, we're going to add up our two quotients, and we know that the answer is 16 to the original problem. So each dog gets 16 ounces of food. So we're going to try the same process. This time we're going to have more information to fill out, and we're going to try another problem. It says Michelle is building shelves for her room. She has a plank that is 137 inches long, and she wants to cut it into 7 shelves. So right off the bat, we know that the divisor is 7 because she wants to make 7 shelves. We know that the dividend, the thing that she's going to divide up, is 137. But let's keep reading and seeing if there's any additional things that will go on in this problem. It says the plank has jagged edges. So students, I'm going to draw jagged edges in here. Jagged edges mean that those aren't smooth. So it says she will start by cutting off 2 inches off the end. So I'm going to make like a little dashed line, and I'm going to label 2 inches and 2 inches, because we know before she cuts up the board, she wants to smooth off those edges. So it says, read the problem. What do I need to find? I need to find the length of each of 7 equal-sized shelves. And if you think about this, boys and girls, it's going to be the 7 shelves, and what we're going to figure out is the length. We don't know that right now. But what that's going to total is the larger plank that she's making the shelves from. However, before we go into this, she's going to have to do some cutting, because remember, we can't forget, there's not smooth edges here. So next, it says, what information do I need to use? So I need to know the amount of wood to cut off of each end. Also, I need to know the number of shelves, and last, the length of the plank before it is cut. Last, how will I use the information? So it says, how will I use the information again? I will first subtract 2 inches for each end of the plank to see what length is being divided. Then I will divide that length by 7, because she's going to make 7 shelves. I will break the remaining length into 2 numbers and divide them by 7. Then I will add the partial quotients to get the final quotient. So let's solve the problem. So I'm going to take the original length of the board, which was 137 inches, and subtract 4 inches, because she cut off 2 inches on each side. And the remaining, 7 minus 4 gives me 3, 3, 1. So this is the dividend. This is what we're going to divide up, and we're going to divide it among the 7 shelves. So we have 133 divided by 7 is equal to what number? So what I'm going to do, So what I did was I wrote the multiples of 7 because we're going to take 133 and we're going to break it up into two smaller numbers. If I look on my multiplication chart and my multiplication sheet that I just manufactured here, I see 70 and I see 63. I know if I add those two numbers up, I would get 133. So I'm going to break down 133 into 70 plus 63 divided by 7. It's much easier to do two smaller division problems at this level than do one larger division problem. So I have 70 and I'm going to divide it by 7, and then I'm going to add that to 63 divided by 7. So I know that 70 divided by 7 is 10, or I can use inverse operations. What number times 7 equals 70? And I know that's 10. And I'm going to add that to the following. I could say to myself, 63 divided by 7 is 9. Or I can say, what number times 7 is 63? And I know that would be 9. So now I have right here in this line my partial quotients. And if I add them up together, I get 19. So that means that each shelf is 19 inches long. And what I can do is I can use inverse operations to check that. I can say to myself, 19 inches times 7 shelves. We should get the original board length left over after the 2 inches were subtracted off each side. So 9 times 7 is 63. We regroup the 6. 7 times 1 is 7. Plus the regroup 6 is 133 inches. And that was the length of the plank after we cut off the 2 inches on both sides. So make sure that when you're doing this and you're trying to figure out what does this look like, if you can set up the process the way we did with distributive property, the only thing that you have to keep in mind, boys and girls, is that 133, we're not using long division. We're going to break it up into two multiples of 7, and it has to be a multiple of a 7 because the divisor is 7. And we're going to do those two smaller division problems, get two partial quotients, and get our final quotient. Make sure you take really good notes on this lesson, and keep in mind that there will be another video coming for Monday morning.